Welcome back. It is pretty early in the morning. I mean, at least early for me, 7 o'clock, and I'm out here in the grocery rows. I was out of town for a week, and we've had a lot of rain, and before that, I wasn't really up on clearing everything through. We didn't really get our full solstice pruning in here, so we're gonna do a little bit of maintenance on these grocery rows because they are so out of control, we can barely get through. So if you're in the middle of those summer crazy days, maybe this will be encouraging to you. This is our situation here. We have a mulberry that's growing over the pathway, another mulberry that's growing over the pathway, and it's gotten so you can barely pass through. But this is good because all of this is potential ground feeding biomass, and that's one of the wonderful things about growing a whole bunch of plants together. We've got a lot of plants that we can select and feed to the ground and to other plants. We also have a full-on ground cover now of sweet potatoes, and that's pretty cool. That means we don't have to mulch in here anymore. If the mulch is getting thin, it doesn't matter because we have a ground cover on it. So we're gonna come through here and harvest what we can harvest and get ourselves a little bit more sunshine. This mulberry is actually making another round of fruit, but I want it out of the pathway. This is too much. So we can get to what's in here. The spring fruits on these everbearing mulberries are a lot bigger and better than the ones I've had from them in the summer. Right now we're getting, looks like little itty bitty mulberries, which is fine. It's better than no mulberries, I guess, but they're not particularly impressive. They're just sort of a, let's have a snack. So then I can just drop the prunings on the ground here, let them rot down into the pathway. They'll be fine, rotting down along with the, right on top of the sweet potatoes, doesn't even matter. Or I could take them over to the chickens. Chickens would probably like that. Or the cows. Cows love mulberry leaves. These are our biomass cannas right here. That's what I call them. It's actually canna musifolia. They make a lot of mass. They grow back repeatedly. And I'm gonna feed these to this loquat that's in here. So we throw that at the base of the loquat. With sandy soil, or even with clay soil, or poor soil, or whatever, if you have mulch that you can throw on the ground to continuously rot down, keep the ground cool, to feed the ground, it's a huge benefit. So instead of bringing in mulch from outside or waiting for chip drop or something, we try to grow a lot of plants that we can cut repeatedly and use for mulch. And it having been very rainy lately, this is the time to do that because there's moisture in the ground already, and this will hold the moisture in. If this was dry, I would want to water really well first before I did this. But this chop and drop material that comes down here on the ground around the base of this loquat is going to just keep feeding that soil. So it's slow compost, it's holding the moisture in, it's adding organic matter, and it's also, now we're opening up the sunlight around the tree a little bit again. That mulberry right there, and we'll take over to give to our cows. Make sure that you have a sharp machete if you do this. You don't want to just batter your plants up. If you're going to do it this way, make sure that you know how to use a machete. Otherwise, just use hand pruners. Cassava, I'm going to leave alone. I want that right there. Got more mulberry. feed these canis. This chestnut, incredibly satisfying. These are Musa Bashju, Japanese fiber banana. I'm gonna take some of these and feed them to the piggies because the piggies love banana leaves. These taro here, this extra taro, I'll feed them to the chestnut. Kind of blocking my path up a little bit. I didn't get them planted exactly right to get good taro, so I don't mind taking a few leaves off. They're in my way. They're making big clumps. I want to be able to get through here. Cut off a little of this sugar cane that's coming through here. The idea is just to be able to walk through, and a little bit of pruning. Not gonna hurt anything. They're not super duper special plants that can't be pruned. We want to be able to get through our gardens. If it gets in the way, chop it off. No biggie. Now this particular tree here, this is a Rachel mulberry, so I'm going to be nice to it. I need to cut the top of this down because it is too big and vigorous right now. But I need another tool for that. I don't dare attack a big trunk like this with a machete. I don't want to make a big mess of it, make an ugly cut. I need a pruning saw for this because it's gotten very thick. But I can take these branches now and feed them to my friends. Beautiful cowsies. Cowsy wowsies. Guess what I got for you? Come here. Come here, babies. So people have said, your cows, they sound like they're starving. They're howling and starving. No, it's what they do is when I come out to this garden, is they start begging me for treats. They want me to bring them prunings, and they just complain a lot. As you can see, they have very nice grass and they're very well fed, but people that don't keep animals or have like a really weird city vibe towards their animals, they don't get it. They don't get, like, maybe your cows actually like you and they're calling for you to come feed them, or maybe the cows are just complainers. These are pepperoncini, and they were getting overlooked here. They smell so spicy, but they're not actually that spicy. They're only mildly spicy. This is the vegetable layer of the grocery rows. And sometimes it gets too covered over with shade, so I've opened up some more sun because these will produce all the way through the summer into the fall until they freeze. This was an impassable area The Jerusalem artichokes blew sideways in the wind. There were yam vines connecting everything. The taro were overlapping the path. We had fig branches and mulberry branches. This is what we have done so far. And then if you see this, that's a path, though you would never know it. So we're just going to continue all the way down until that area is passable, like where we just did. Machete gardening, folks. One of the great things about having all this overgrowth in here is that I'm dropping it at the ground in the middle of our lower Alabama rainy season, which means it is going to feed the ground, rot down in the ground, and then it's going to be good for next year. So all of this extra, these prunings, whatever we don't feed to the cows, which we're only giving a little bit to the cows because honestly they have lots of grass and it's just fun to feed them, so we're not giving them a lot. But we gave some to the chickens, we're going to give some to the pigs. But all this stuff that's on the ground now is feeding back into the soil. So this is next year's fertility coming in this great big burst of growth where we have a lot of sunshine, a lot of rain, a lot of growth. Things get totally crazy, out of control. And this is great. This is great because this is compost right in place. The tree prunings, the overgrown vines, the Jerusalem artichokes that lean over the pathways, the taro leaves, the mulberries that we're cutting back, all of that is going to go down on the ground. It rots on the ground and it feeds the system for the next year. So we are mimicking a forest where there's a big fall of leaves in the fall, except we're doing it off and on through the year. So we're rapidly growing the soil layer, and even into the pathways, all this material that rots down in the path, the roots are going to be able to access that. The roots are growing underneath the mulch in the path. So all of this system is growing soil quickly. There's no tilling going on. All there is we pop in new vegetables in the spring and in the fall wherever there's a nice open gap. Right now there's pretty much no gaps, so we clear through and we're just going to let it ride through until it cools off and things start to die back and we get to really seriously harvesting. But the pathways now are just loaded with organic material, so it's just having strips of compost pile in here which will feed next year's crops. And that's one of the beauty of this system, is that unlike an orchard where you might just have grass and you don't have a lot of biomass feeding the soil, or a regular vegetable garden where you might be hoeing the ground, this system grows a lot of its own compost once it gets established. So we may not even have to feed anything at all next year. I'm sure it would still be happy and green in here. And all it had before was biochar, ashes, and some manure, and then I threw down some cottonseed meal as an experiment to see if it made the potatoes happier. And it made them greener, but we still didn't get more potatoes, so I'm not going to bother with that anymore. I think the ashes, the biochar, and the manure were great, but now that has cycled into biomass, which we've dropped on the ground. Those are going in the smoker. Make some hot sauce. Remember, this entire grocery row garden system has only been here for 19 months. So when you're looking around here and you're seeing this incredible growth and all of the food that we pulled out of here, I mean, last year, 2,500 pounds of food out of the backyard. You can do this too. This is not that hard once you know how to do it. Once you know a few secrets, you're really good. I mean, it's the fundamental things that we're often lacking, so we try so hard. If you've struggled with raised beds, if you've struggled to try and create an aquaponics system, if you've had plants, in pots just die on you from weird random diseases, if your gardening just doesn't seem to work, it's often underlying principles that are being missed. And once those fall into place, your gardens line up with your climate and with your cultural methods, suddenly it's easy. And this is not even perfect. This is about moderately there, but because the underlying structure is correct, the rest of it is falling into place. So if you want to get some hands-on advice, like if you're tired of failing, would you like to have happy gardens? Would you like to have something like this? Would you like to have 2,500 pounds of food out of your yard within a year of starting? If that sounds like something you'd like, come and join our community. I will put a link to that below. It is a thriving community, and I have my food forest course up there and a lot of extra tips. And we do training every week on Zoom. I've got something that we are sharing from around the homestead that will make your life a lot easier and give you food security. So if you're a little worried about the way things are going, you'd like to make sure you're on track, come and join us. It is a easy investment to make. I'll catch you next time. And until then, make your thumbs always be green.